So they're programmed to create an electromagnetic field that precisely aligns to each other so that it then creates a toroidal effect, which is creating the scalar quantum effect.
Alrighty.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, okay, so it's Michelle Kellar.
Yep, Michelle Kellar.
All right, from EES, Colorado.
Yep. It's actually called vibrational resonance.
Okay.
Which, yeah, we can talk about the name too. I'm seeing all the orchestrated synchronicities that are coming together with the name. But it is an energy enhancement system.
Right.
So this is technology that is available all over the world in many different centers, probably over 450 now. It's been around since 1986 or 1997, I believe, around that time frame. A woman by the name of Dr. Sandra Rose Michaels invented the technology. She's Mensa, which means like the smartest people in the world.
Yeah.
I didn't actually know what that meant when she was saying that, but she was born to spook scientists that worked on like all kinds of high-level projects. So she's very smart, and I am just enjoying the journey of this and watching how it's all unfolding. I was drawn to this about 2 years ago and made the commitment to be a part of what is bringing it into the world. About 2 years ago, there were only about 50 centers around the world, and now we're up to over 450.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a wild, wild west getting it all organized as the organization, EE Systems, and an organization called Unified Healing are coming together to help have a little more consistency with it as these system owners get these places up and going. So that's been fun to be a part of that as well.
How did you get involved with that?
I set an intention a few years ago to align myself more in the passion of what my soul wants to be doing here. And I actually come from a 29-year career in mortgage financing that I resigned from almost 4 years ago. And I just kept following the breadcrumbs. I went into a few directions that fell flat and saw an interview. It's kind of now becoming a famous interview that Jason Shirka did with Dr. Michaels in May of 2022 that I lit up, and I was like, this is it. This is what I want to bring to the world. And it took a little time to get things organized so I could get it figured out. And when I made the commitment, then I decided, in November of 2022, I put my deposit down, and it took them 6 months or so to get it delivered to me and opened up in Monument in June of 2023.
Yeah, I want to show some footage of the energy enhancement system just so people see the setup, because it looks like a bunch of computer screens with in the background there's servers or something.
Yep, and we can talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to know where to start because
Yeah.
the inventor takes her 3 hours to explain what it does and how it works. So did you want me to bring up some footage?
No, but I want you to maybe send it to me after. We'll splice it in while you
Okay.
talk about it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I can do that. So the way that the technology is being created is through computer boxes and monitors. And these are set up in various different ways so that they can precisely, what's being aligned are the actual computer electromagnetic boxes. So they're regular computers, but they're not Wi-Fi'd, or they're not speaking to anything. They're closed in. So they're programmed to create an electromagnetic field that precisely aligns to each other so that it then creates a toroidal effect, which is creating the scalar quantum effect. And then the computer screens themselves are programmed with complex algorithms and physics that are colliding the field with dense amounts of information. So this is one of the foundations of the system, is the environment that is being created. Because when we bring ourselves into bioresonance fields, that's our environment, we sync to them. So that, that's everything. That's coming into here. That's like interacting with you. That's eating the food that we do, where we go, the homes we live in. All of this is our resonant field. And then our bodies will naturally sync to those. So if those environments are healthy, our bodies are going to sync to a healthier body. If those environments are toxic, our bodies are going to sync to a more toxic, unhealthy environment. And that's, I think, why the biohacking thing is such a popular craze, because now you're creating your environment through food, through energy, through all the different things that people are doing, the cold plunges, the red light therapy. So this system kind of touches on a lot of all of those things. So you bring yourself into it, and then your body syncs to it, and then it knows how to do what it knows how to do. Because we're not claiming that this is healing people. Your body knows how to heal itself. You just have to give it the right environment. So.
Yeah, that's the toroidal field that it creates. Don't, like, we as individuals have our own toroidal field?
I believe, and I feel like there's some scientific proof for this somewhere. I couldn't quote what it is, that our heart is one big toroidal field. Our cells are toroidal fields. They're scalar. So because we are this individuated part of the whole. So, yeah.
I was meditating the other day, and I was thinking about toroidal fields.
I know, it's a tough word to say. Taurus is another way to say it easier, the Taurus field.
But then I started thinking of like an apple.
Yep.
And different, I guess, fruits, and even our bodies, like our belly button and our butt and stuff. I don't know, but the shape that manifests in certain like physicalities, whatever, in our reality, create, like, there's a toroidal field shape, and so it like manifests in physical reality, this theory of that. I mean, is there scientific evidence of the existence of these fields?
They do have scientific evidence of it, and there is a famous documentary called Thrive that Foster Gamble produced.
I watched that a few years
which
ago.
He uses the apple as the example of the toroidal field. So it's funny you bring that up. Okay. And I think there's a lot of biblical references to the apple, right? With Adam and Eve, which these are stories, coming back to these bigger points of things.
Yeah.
So I do think he actually kind of walks through the science of it in that film. I can't remember how he did that.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
I remember being interested in what he was saying. And do you know who Nassim
Harriman?
Yeah.
Yes, he also is very. I believe we're in a evolution of new science that's emerging right now. Like, we've gone from the Newtonian science to the quantum science, and I think we're emerging into a new field of science that's coming from frequency.
Okay.
And that's also, we were chatting beforehand about Terrence Howard's interview podcast with Joe Rogan, and he's talking about that too. I mean, we're moving into a new science because I think we're evolving and we're ready for it, and our bodies align to frequencies, then environments. I'm just getting the cusp of it, so I can't speak to it too well, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I see what's happening. We're emerging into something really cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
I watched the Terrence Howard conversation twice just because it was so fascinating, and talking about how the periodic table is like these blocks, but it should be in either a spiral or in a wave form, and how the physical particles represent frequencies, and there's all these there was like there's gaps, and I can't even
I
start.
know he's part of what's bringing it's kind of like the 4 minute mile, right? Like after somebody breaks the threshold, then more people can do it.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of gratitude to people like him who are willing to take the crap from everybody
I
and to like
know.
show up and still speak to it, even though other people are like want to call him crazy
Yeah,
and
everyone's calling
dismiss
him
him.
crazy,
Yeah.
and he's like lost his mind. I, but it made sense what he was saying, so you can't knock the fact that it was all resonating with the listeners and Joe Rogan, and
Right.
just you can't make all that stuff up.
You
I
can't.
mean, I don't think.
I, for me, what it feels like is it feels like a knowing, like I know what he's saying is true, and I
Mhm.
can't quite, it isn't my wisdom yet because I can't explain it to you, but the body knows.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, this is true. And then me, because I like to figure it out, right, so that I can understand it and then explain it to other people, along the way, my journey is going to take me into paths where I'm going to be able to articulate it better to people someday. But right now I can't tell you
Yeah.
why I know it's true, but I know it's true. Like
It
every cell in my
feels
body
true.
was going, oh my God, he's like bringing to the world where we're going.
Right. And he
He's
has.
part of it. And Nassim Harriman, and I was just at a retreat with Greg Braden. He's among the people doing these things too, bringing this information to the world so that we can move into this new era that we're shifting to, where we realize we are the technology.
Yeah, we can store all this data in cells. I was listening to Billy Carson on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about how a single atom can store like so much terabytes or whatever of information. And I think he was talking about how wrote a book, put it in a cell in the sequence of DNA, like the A, G, C letters instead of the ones and zeros,
Yep.
and was able to download it and upload it and re-download it and turn it back into ones and zeros. And
Yes.
it, I mean, and I'm not smart enough. I make underwear. We sell underwear, but it's quite fascinating. And I remember going to the EES machine at your house of like over 6 months ago, and little skeptical, but just like open-minded. I'm always pretty open-minded to new technology and new biohacking methods. And my friend Matt told me about it, and so I decided to go. And I don't know what happened, but within about a month, like the UFC called me and or emailed me, and it started this new pathway for the company, which my life is, my wife, my daughter, and this company. And I am always trying to build a company because I know that if the company is successful and grows, then I can take care of everybody. And so I focus most of my thought on how to grow the company. I remember last time I was there, you went down there with me, and you were telling me to like imagine the underwear going out or something, and then money coming back in.
Uh-huh.
And I've been doing stuff like that for decades. Just visualizing, manifesting, and whether it's woo woo or real, it seems to be working for me. And I just tell people like the mind is the magnificent problem solver, and it's like magical, and we don't fully understand the capability. So why not play around with it and see what you can accomplish rather than just accepting what is as our reality. I feel like there's so much more potential. The pyramids in themselves create this wonder of like, what were we and what are we now and what are we capable of. And so I'm just always been fascinated with that potential. And maybe not everyone has the potential or is open-minded enough to try, but I've been playing around with it for about 20 years, and it's doing something for me. People talk about The Secret, that movie by
Yep.
Rhonda Byrne, and how it's like it didn't work for them, but I don't know. It seems to be working for me. And you said like yourself a couple of, like in 2022, you were trying to find a new pathway, and then these things come to you from where we don't really know,
Right. Right.
and you just follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah. I
And
say follow it while it's till it's lit up, and follow it to the end until it doesn't feel lit up. And if it doesn't, just move on and trust that that's part of where it's getting you to where you're going to go. Because I
Yeah.
walked away from a few things that I thought would be the new thing that I would bring to the world or how I would show up, and then they fell flat. And so rather than thinking that was all my eggs in one basket, I was just like, well, let's see what shows up next then.
Yeah,
So,
that
yeah.
happened with me also. But I had this idea for keys back in 2000, and this was around the time that I was playing around with these manifesting visualizations and stuff. But I had this idea for keys that were jewelry, and because we walk around with our keys and they're so bland and boring or whatever. And I was like, what if they were jewelry? And so I thought about how I could press a key to kind of look like a quarter, for instance, how you stamp the quarter and it's got George Washington's face on it or whatever. But they could be anything. It could be Mickey Mouse or a football team or whatever you can imagine,
But it like embossed into the key.
embossed
Yeah.
into the key. And in 2000, the internet wasn't quite where it is, and so I was looking for manufacturers that could help me produce this idea, and I kind of came up on a dead end, and I quit because it was too hard. And I was 22 or something at the time, so I gave up. But a few years later, when I saw these keys in, it was like Lowe's or Home Depot with these designs painted on them, I felt like I got kicked in the stomach because I had that idea, and they're in every store all over the world now. Like nobody nobody uses regular keys,
Right.
or they do. We still do, but a lot of them have these fancy
Stylized
designs.
designer.
Yeah.
Two things come to mind with that. First, I want to ask you, in that exploration of going down that path, if you look back on that now, do you see where you maybe might have learned something that
Mhm.
translated to what ultimately did get you to where you are? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I learned not to quit, because once you quit, it's over. And if I hadn't given up, I would have figured it out. It wouldn't have. I mean, or if I sometimes don't make it too complicated, keep it simple, Simon. And I could have just painted. And that was I did try painting designs on a key, just making a red key. I remember I made just a red key. I thought that would be cool enough. But the paint was chipping off. But I'm sure there's a different kind of paint I could have used.
Right.
So, like, don't give up, and then keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
And would you say you translate that now into what you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So see, that would be where I say, if we just trust that our experiences are propelling us towards what ultimately will open up for us in our passions,
Yeah.
then we don't have to get so worried about things when they don't work out. We can trust that it's all part of the orchestration to get us to where we're going to ultimately find that passion. So
Yeah.
and then my other thought is in this morphogenetic field that we're in, this like field that we all have access to, I think what happens is information gets put out there. We could have another philosophical conversation on where that's actually coming from, but we won't go there. So likely, that information about the keys is out there. And so you and other people are thinking about it, and it's just who brings it and gets it done.
Mhm.
Because sometimes they'll find too that a book or something that's getting written, or products that are being made, like people in other parts of the world do the same thing but never talk to each other because they're picking up on the field's ideas to propel us forward
Right.
as a society or to get things going in new directions. So I wouldn't feel like you left out. You got your lessons out of it, but you just were tuning in and you got the message as one of the people. I feel like I'm part of a group that gets the message about this community, building community and coming back more into the homeostasis of being community and taking care of ourselves and growing our own food. And then I have to pause and be like, well, I'm probably not going to be the one that's going to create the land and develop it, even though I have background in that. I can hold the vision for it and trust it'll unfold how it's going to, but I don't have to figure it out.
Right, because
Yeah.
the universe is gonna put people in places and or things in the right place and time, and it'll manifest through the universe and through other people and
Yep.
their inspirations, and you're a part of that, maybe from a broader level,
Yeah.
and helping push it in that direction.
Yep.
And do you feel like these energy enhancement systems are playing some role in waking people up, or what?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's so much more than you come into it and it's providing all these profound things for you physically. There's also a mental and an emotional aspect going with it, and also a spiritual aspect. So let's maybe back up and talk a little bit about some of the kind of bases of it, and then we can kind of lead into why I think that this is bigger than just like it is helping be a part of what is providing an environment for people to have the invitation to wake up if they want to start seeing things in a different way and understanding the power of who they really are as humans. Because I think we're being, and we can, doesn't really matter who it is, that there seems to be an agenda to take away our humanness.
Mm-hmm.
And inside the human, and this has been going on for thousands of years. This isn't just news today, right? I mean, you can look back where they've changed lots of history and information to keep people from knowing this technological potential power. I would say some of the more, Eastern would be some of the more Asian philosophies are the ones that probably keep it closer to that than maybe others do. But then they all wanted to keep it a secret, which you can see why, because they didn't want to lose it. So they coveted it like, we're not going to share this with everybody.
Because it's like power, potentially.
Right. We want to make sure that this stays alive so that someday when people are ready, we can share it. And so I think we're seeing that happen too, because you hear a lot about like shamans and tribes and all these people that don't want to, give you the information. And there's a bit of a battle a little bit going on with, no, you're not supposed to be giving that. That's sacred. And I get it, but this is the time to be giving it now because people are ready. But that's another little side piece of it. So so the system is actually...
because the people might not know what to do with it, or they feel like the people will abuse it, or...
And that's been the case in the past, is if we want to keep this kind of secret, because if it gets out too much, they'll, maybe this is a rude way to say it, but they'll kill everybody that knows what this is, and now we will never be able to pass this information on. Is sort of what I think they were, for the benefit of keeping the information alive for the time when we're ready. They would make sure it was very, only certain people could have access to it. They were not spreading
like
it out to the world.
Priests and shaman and the special beholders of the knowledge.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right. So you can see how that worked, but now I feel is the time. We're ready for it, and it's coming out. So that's why you have basement shamans now. People are like, I'm a shaman, which, technically we all have that fractal in us. It's just, are you going to embody it and express it? So, but yeah. So the system itself is creating that environment that you can come into, so your body knows how to do what it knows how to do. And one of the fundamental components going on with the system is through the scalar field that's being created, the toroidal field. It is actually taking all of the deconstructive energy in its environment and beyond. They can show that this happens 2.2 miles in each direction of where the systems are.
Whoa.
I channeled that before I got the system. I made the decision. I went and sat by the river in Evergreen by where I live, and I called in, whoever could give me this information. Why am I drawn to this? And I specifically asked for Tesla to come in because they were like, this is kind of like Tesla's technology a little bit. So part of that download was that field is actually going hundreds of miles. It's not 2.2 is what they can prove with
Measure.
their instruments. So it that's one big component. And so the deconstructive field that we are in would be our EMFs, our radiation, our environment, our toxins,
Food.
the air, all the 5G, all these kinds of things. So it is neutralizing that, and it is converting it into positive energy. And on my website, I have a little 10-minute video with Dr. Michaels, and I forget the gentleman's name. He's a NASA physicist, spook scientist, who brings in his little machinery to show that it's doing that.
Whoa.
So what that means is now we don't get the interference as humans that we have been getting. So we have the invitation and the opportunity to start tuning more into the divine of us, to be able to activate this technology of the humanness that we are and the divinity that we have inside of us. So some in my channel too, I got that not everybody is going to do that at this time, because we are still in a world of polarity that is helping us raise our evolution. So those souls there are souls that have chosen to be the polarity part, to be the, they just won't be able to resonate with it. They won't get it because they need to hold that space to allow for the overall elevation of it to happen over however long that's going to take. I don't know. It could be another 1,000 years, could be 20 years, as fast as technology is taking us
I know,
now.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's hard to say. So that is me personally, my channel and my take on that. And then I shared that with the system owners, my vision and my channel, and so many of them came back. It was like, and said, I had the same vision. I had the same. I know this to be true too. So there is something there with that. So that's why I say this is a bigger piece. And as Dr. Michael says, she calls it acupuncture for Mother Earth.
Okay.
So it's like all these little centers are coming online, providing these spaces that we're gridding up with each other to create that field.
Nice.
So that would be the one big thing. And then inside the field, you have to be inside the field to receive the biophotonic collision of things that are happening. And that's where I'll kind of keep it brief, because we could go for a very long time talking about it. But some of the key components that are happening there, and they have studies for this, is that it's charging the cells of the body. So when you charge the cells of the body, you're increasing the millivolts, and now you're creating that environment, because that environment of your body that is in healthy state of charged millivolts can't have disease. So that's why people will experience a physical detox potentially, and also a mental emotional detox, because it's not just the physical piece that's detoxing. And that's where we were talking before we started the cameras. I was at a workshop with Greg Braden in Sedona. I just got back yesterday, and he brings the science and the mystic to it. He's been doing it for years. And he was talking about, and the peptides kept coming up. It's funny, I see how things come together now. It's fun to actually be open and just follow it and be like, oh, I get how the puzzle's coming together. So there's the peptides surround our cells. And inside the peptides is where the traumas that we experience in our life, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, are being held. And so some of these traumas you might have been born with because of epigenetics. They might have like showed up already inside of you from your prior ancestors or parents. And then some of it is what happens to you. Most of it is what happens to us from the time we are in our mother's womb in the last trimester until we're around 7 years old. And then there can be other ones that form too. And then our environment. So these peptides are holding these traumas. And as you do different things, and in particular, the example given for this was the breath work that was accommodating the retreat, through this specific way of doing breath work, kind of like Wim Hof or Holland Traffic. This one was a free flow breath work that Christian Minson from Breath Flow Wellness was doing. It actually oxygenates the body in a way that allows those peptides to release. So it's releasing those traumas, and sometimes we may not need to even know what they are. They're just going to flush out of our system through, our regular biosystem that we use for urine and bowel movements and sweat. But some of it may come as awarenesses from a memory as a child, or you might actually have, people were having moments where a woman's sister who had recently passed, came to her. Another woman had the pain that she'd been experiencing in her body for years actually completely go away.
Mm-hmm.
So these kinds of things release when we do those. And you can find that happening with certain plant medicines too. And the system is providing the environment that allows for that to happen as well. So it's once you can actually release those things, and they're not bad, but it allows you then to integrate them and start to tap more into the divinity of the technology so that you can access more of your intuition, access more of your vitality, start to stay young. I mean, I do believe we can reverse age. I've set the intention that I'm going to look like I'm 45 or 40 for the rest of my life.
You look great.
That's my intention. And
Have you
right
heard
now
of-
I'm 55. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you look amazing. And so you're a good spokesperson for this system because it looks like it's working just from a physical standpoint. Have you heard of Brian Johnson?
No, tell me about him.
He's a billionaire. I think he sold Venmo for 400 million, not billion. But he's been on this journey to don't die, to stop aging, and right now he's at an aging rate of 0.6 years per year. It's almost half a year per year, and he's trying to get that down to zero, aging per year. But he's the biohacking thing. He's taking, one video I saw recently was he was taking these exogenous peptides, which is interesting. Do you have any
thoughts on the peptides?
Yeah.
Well, that's where it's sort of been coming to my awareness. I've been hearing people in my community talk about peptides. I've been hearing about how they're actually banning peptides, to the use of them. It's getting harder and harder to actually be able to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And then most recently, I'd heard about the frog medicine Cambo.
Mm-hmm.
That has the peptides, and I did a Cambo ceremony.
Was that DMT?
It's not psycho. It's psychoactive, but not psycho.
Delic?
Right. It's not psychedelic. So it's legal. People can.
Oh, interesting.
Legally administer this. The piece about it that my mind is, the way they do it is they actually burn little dots in your skin, and then they administer the serum from the back of the frog that's been excreted into those, and then that gets directly into your bloodstream and activates the peptides. And some people have really extreme detoxing, physically, throwing up from it. I didn't, because I have a fairly clean constitution with being in the system. I experienced more of a clarity of things. Things started to become a lot more clear for me. I was able to connect the dots on some things that I was trying to work through, as far as that's a whole other topic. But our relationships are our mirrors, and they bring up all these conditioned patterns that we have that
Yeah.
sometimes keep us stuck in loops
Yes.
and that keep us suffering and not feeling good. So it really was helping me unlock some of those. And that's the field I love to play in, is the field of like finding those and then integrating them. And the system also helps me do that a lot faster. So
Yeah. So I'm playing around. I've
sorry,
never tried.
we can go so
Yeah, I
many places
know,
with
and
this.
we have a limited time
Yeah.
today, but yeah, I'm toying around with doing like some peptides, but the Brian Johnson, I definitely recommend just looking up his YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
I am interested in
His thing is just like don't die, and he's definitely making progress in that direction, and it's not taking the peptides. That was like a bad example. It's
well,
like
there's a combination of things. You have to do multiple things.
sleep. His main thing is sleep. Like getting a good night's sleep is like the number one thing for us to be healthy, I guess. And diet. He's on this very regimented diet and workout, and then what we're hoping for, I guess, is that AI will fill in the rest, or come up with a solution to stopping whatever's happening to the degeneration of our bodies, as we age. It's like, and I want to at least give me like 500, maybe 1,000 years. It seems too short. There's so much more to do.
Yeah.
And I haven't even been. I need to go to the pyramids and the Vatican, and just like you could live multiple lives in a 1,000 years instead of just this. We have this 100 years to get everything done and maybe leave a legacy or whatever. But I did have a question from a little bit back in the conversation about the EES system, and it creates this field for your body, and your body will adjust to that.
It syncs to that environment. Yeah.
Yeah. And so syncs to that environment. If you go in with a negative attitude, does that have anything?
Yeah, and you do have to be careful with that. So because it is one gigantic antenna as well. So if you go in and you're in a really bad mood and you've got a bad attitude, it is going to amplify that. It also is going to be forcing you to sync to its environment because it's holding the higher vibration.
Right. Okay.
So even though you're doing that, you might actually be the one that ends up feeling super uncomfortable with the experience, because you're probably fighting that
You're
the system
resisting.
is trying to bring you. The system's environment already is in the ideal homeostasis, and the body is going, no, we don't want to be thinking about all those negative things. We want you to relax. We want you to enjoy this energy. So I have had people that come once and have never come back.
Yeah.
and that is their choice, right? Because
Yeah.
they just, I've had people present things to me and say things to me that I was very offended by, and later on in life I'm like, oh, you were right, but your delivery maybe wasn't so great. So the system, is just bombarding them with all this environment that is so wonderful, and if you are so far away from that, it's gonna feel weird, and you're probably not gonna want to come back.
Yeah, I feel like it's like if you try to take mushrooms and you don't let go and give in to the
Experience.
Yeah, if you try to resist it, it's going to be a battle, and
Yeah.
and that's not fun. If you like let go and just let it do its thing, it's way more enjoyable, I guess.
Yep. They say that a lot in the medicine journeys. The quickest way out is through.
Yeah.
Go to it, don't run from it, and you'll
Right.
get through it. And that could be said about anything in life, really. Yeah.
How long does it take to adjust to that field of energy, like to
Yeah.
whatever?
I think it could depend a little bit on where people are at when they come in. So some people are ready to just launch with it, and some people, what I've started to notice is after about 20 hours of time, and let's maybe just back up a little bit too, the way that you experience it is you spend time in it. You just come into the field and you spend time. How you do that ideally is through napping or sleeping. So overnights are like the greatest way to do it. But also you can pair things with it, like learning, because it's balancing right and left brain hemisphere, meditating, manifesting, breath work. I haven't done yoga and things, but you can do any of those things in there and amplify it. So I've started to notice people saying a lot more is happening for them after about 20 hours or a couple of overnights. And
Okay.
then they're like, oh, I'm really starting to notice that I'm able to connect more with my higher self, or I'm starting to lose the weight. But they're also doing other things. It's not just this. They're supporting themselves with other things, body work, food, the mental capacity of it too. Most are. The ones that aren't getting the most out of it. And that's something I'm trying to build. I want to build an integration to life plan. That came to me in Sedona. It's been building, so I'm going to get going on that, because I think that's going to help people with integrating all these things that they're doing, because they need a point place to be like, well, now what do I do with all this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because each individual has energy fields, and when you come into someone with negative energy, you kind of can become negative yourself, or I guess you want to remove yourself from that situation. But I'm thinking of like women and menstrual cycles.
Yes, that's an example they give. Like women start to sync to
Yeah,
each other
sync.
because their environments they're around each other. So now they're starting to sync to the same menstrual cycles.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then the syncing, that's the word I was thinking
Yeah.
of. And like, so how long does it take to sync to that energy? And you're saying about 20 hours.
Mhm.
And, but then if you come back out into the world of the 5G and the negative energy and bad food and whatever, I guess you want to come back every so often and like resync up.
It's kind of like a maintenance program. Yeah, for sure. I noticed after being away for a little over a week, and I went down, spent 20 minutes in there, and I was like, whoa, is this what it feels like to people that haven't been here for a while? Because I'm so used to it, because it's actually in my home.
Right.
About 10% of us have them in our homes, and others are in commercial space. So, yes, you do have to have a bit of a maintenance program, but it does help with everything else that's going on. It helps everything else work more optimally, if that makes sense. The food that you're eating, the exercise that you're doing, the mental, emotional work that you're doing, it's helping all of that and supporting it so that it's all functioning in a more optimal way.
Yeah. Something definitely happened. And I know with our friend group, they're like Max bought the little square box
Yep.
version. And I went to his house and I was in that field, and then I felt like a negative experience happened the next day, and so I was like, and I didn't love that one for some reason. So then I had to come back to yours and like
Reboot.
rebalance, yeah, resync. Because so I don't know if his system isn't. It's like a little mini version.
So that's called the cube. And so
Yeah.
that cube is portable. You can move it. My system and the ones that are aligned on the monitors and the computers that are fixed, those can't be moved since they're precisely aligned. So the cubes create a fountain effect, and the more fixed ones create the toroidal effect. They're both doing the same things. That cube is doing it at about a third of what 4 units would be, and I've got 12 units in mine. So that whole negative thing, what I think is happening is sometimes we need to learn through the density of things. And so sometimes the invitation is, what's the negative emotion that I'm being invited here? What's the negative feeling I'm being invited here to look at, so that I can integrate that and transform that? And the system's going to bring that to you sometimes too.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that happen in the group of owners. So there's, I think I mentioned to you, I'm in the group that we've all just kind of bombarded this and started, and now we're kind of going backwards and trying to get more organized. things are coming up for them to look at too. And for me too, like there's a lot coming up for me to look at too as I'm living in this system, which I love it because I like to play in that field.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say the system isn't creating the negative field, it's only amplifying what's going on within you at the moment. Or if there is a strong environment that is also projecting that, and then you come into it with the field, you might pick up on it too. So, and you can, a little trick, you can always be like, you can just ask, like, does this belong to me? And if it feels like when you ask that question, if you feel light about it, then the answer would be no. And you can simply just ask to return that. We'll give it back to whoever that is then. I don't need that.
Yeah.
And if it feels a little heavy, then the invitation is, well, what do I need to know from this?
The reality, it's kind of funny, is our sales dropped the next day. And because we were on this trajectory for like 30% growth for the year in a field that is growing with a lot of competitors and an economy that is in a recession, and we're growing. And then the day I go to Max's place, the next day our sales like dropped in half, and I was just like, whoa. And it persisted for like a week. And I even went back to his house. I was like, I need to come back. I think it was on like the wrong side of the machine or something. I want to get on this side or whatever. I don't know what was happening, because the world is so strange, and energies, and the fact that we exist is strange enough. But the fact that I came from where I came from to build this company and to be influencing all the people and working with the organizations and people that I do work with, it's like magic almost, I feel like. And when I went to your place, there was some level of enhancement that occurred, some shift occurred, where it taking us from where we grew from the time I started the company. We doubled in growth every year for 10 years. And then when after COVID and the whole whatever, we started dipping, and like we lost like $1 million over 2 years. And then I came to your place, and then now we're like back to growing. And then I go to his place, and then I see this weird decrease again, like by 50%. And I was just, and it could have just been a coincidence also, just just a random occurrence. But I'm so into the energies and like, the vibrations and whatever. It's like, I don't know if I fuck something up there. So I went back to his place, didn't really help. So then I came back to your place, and we're back on track. We're back growing again. And I'm so like, are these coincidences? I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably an invitation for you. If you want, maybe it's past, but intuitively I get a couple of ideas about that. And at the same time, I'm also getting that it's something that you could explore if you wanted to. Just like, why did that happen? Because I don't think the machine is causing the negativity.
Right.
However, it is opening the field into this non-linear fifth dimensional, which means past, present, and future are all available to you space. So there could be like something that is coming through that is inviting you to maybe clear up a belief that you have somewhere, or that's been holding you back in other areas, and this was just one way that the universe was going to open the door for you to see it. Like, like I go here and the experience is not so good, I go here and the experience is good. What is this telling me? Like
go here. No,
well, not necessarily. I think it's kind of saying that it's here.
Yeah,
you get to determine how that shows up.
Right.
No matter what's going on in your environment, ultimately, I believe this is the true environment that we want to learn to work with and bring into the space to tap into. So now we're using all these things to do it. But ultimately, I think this is where we're going, I believe, as humanity. And again, it could be thousands of years, or it could be, in the next decade because of the way technology is advancing us. But we have this code within us that we have not even touched to the degree that we have access to.
Yeah. I started meditating a couple of years ago, and I meditate every day, twice a day, for at least 40 minutes, I guess, like in total, but sometimes it bleeds into hours if I don't get distracted. And I'll find myself meditating and I'll be like, I fucking love this shit because I'm feeling like so good. My body is just in a very positive vibration. And I've done that at your place. When I was at Max's, we were just like eating pizza and talking, which is what we're not gonna eat pizza probably tomorrow, but
Yeah, when you guys come on Thursday.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I've been called to maybe like bring you guys into a coherent space before you start all that.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're all just like talking about business and ups and downs and challenges and things that we're making progress and stuff and just
Like a round table.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's what we're gonna do tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. But maybe a little coherence.
Yeah, dropping
session.
everybody into the same vibrational frequency and the remembrance of that power that we possess as you move into those conversations,
Yeah.
so that you're starting from that point of coherency within your body first.
Yeah, let's do something like that.
Okay, yeah, we will.
And another thing I thought of was you were just in Sedona, which they say is like a vortex
Yeah.
center. And does the EES machine have any connection, like the energy?
So it's kind of going back to the it's the acupuncture for Mother Earth. So I was guided to where I put the center in Monument. And I don't think, I know it's not a coincidence, and I believe it's because it's next to what's called ley lines.
Yeah.
So that it has access to move that energy a lot easier and connect up with the other systems and the ley lines throughout the earth. So, yeah, I do. And I think we are little vortexes once we start to activate them.
Yeah.
And yeah, Sedona is well known for being a hub of portals and vortexes and whatnot. I think Colorado has probably more than we realize, because that's a whole other story, but I think we've got them here in Colorado too.
Yeah. And like Egypt would be another one.
Egypt is a well-known one. There's a guy named Matthias de Stefan, and he just finished I think it was a 12-year-long process of going around, and he was guided to open up these keys and these specific portals all over the world. And Sedona was one of them. The Vatican was one of them. Egypt was one of them. I'm trying to remember where some of the other places were, but he actually completed that, and he's moving on to something else. But he's pretty fascinating to check out too.
Yeah, there's so much information and so many like YouTube channels that you could just do
A whole rabbit hole
yeah.
for
for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's
Yeah.
hard to know what rabbit hole to go down, but I just trust the algorithm.
Yeah, that's part of it. Sometimes I have to take a break from it and let myself really integrate it and and remember that I've got this information and to embody more of it. So I kind of take little breaks from it, and then I'll be guided to kind of listen to some more, and then I'll integrate it. Take a little break.
Because it's too much. It's so much to integrate as it's all coming in constantly. I listen to podcasts like not all day, but probably too much, like hours, 6 hours a day or something, probably, while I'm
in the
tooling
background.
around. Yeah.
And if it's content you're interested in, I think that's great, because it's just going into the subconscious, and then eventually when you're ready to pull it out, it'll all come together.
Right.
So yeah. There was something I wanted to kind of circle back to it. I was thinking about it when you were talking about Billy Carson talking about the cells and how he put the memory into them. So that's something that I've started to realize too, how we actually are like a computer, and our cells actually hold energy that is equal to 3 million 12-volt batteries without needing any energy to do it. Think about that. Our cells hold the energy equal to 3 million 12-volt batteries in this body.
Each cell?
I don't know if it's each cell. I think it's a combination of all of our cells.
Okay.
It could actually be one cell, but I know for sure it's the body. And without needing any energy to do it necessarily.
Except food, or I guess.
So if you think about like how computers get programmed and how they need all this energy to program computers, we have the capacity to program ourselves and tap into all this technology.
Right.
And then Greg Braden was talking about how through the Genome Project that they mapped out the genes, they discovered that chromosome 2 actually had been modified. I don't know if it was a Genome Project that discovered that, but the Genome Project discovered we only had like 24,000 genes, and they thought we would have like hundreds of thousands of them. But what then they've started to realize is that we actually, once we learned something or we've used up the energy of the cell, it actually has the capacity to open itself back up. And this is kind of what Terrence Howard is talking about too, to
Flower of
allow
life.
for more space
Okay.
to then grow more. So we're constantly, that's why people say, we're never going to figure it out. We're just, we reach a glass ceiling and there's another one. It's because we as humans have the capacity to keep evolving to, potentially, who knows what, like we could probably teleport ourselves somewhere eventually.
Yeah.
So the bodies have all this capacity, and then it's just learning how to do it through using the EE system, through eating the right food, through utilizing the peptides to release the traumas, to allow the space for the cells to actually activate in the way that they're meant to. So, but I won't go down that whole path. But there was some really fascinating things about our cells, how they can show they've been modified, like about 200 or 300,000 years ago, where they actually can show, the telomeres on the end of the genes, on the end of the cells on the genes, they can show in the chromosome 2 that there's the telomeres here, or we don't have a pen, and then there's another telomere, and then another telomere butts up to that, and then there's another telomere on the end. So that means it got spliced, pieces got taken out of a gene, and then they got spliced back together to create a new gene.
Like we were genetically modified or something?
Yes, with an intelligence. Now, the odds of that happening naturally, the statistical odds of that just happening through Darwin's theory is impossible.
Yeah.
So there's an intelligent life that did that.
Right.
Something.
Yeah, something's happening.
An intelligent consciousness or something
Right.
made that possible.
I've been reading. Billy Carson was talking about the Book of Thoth,
Yeah.
and I've been reading the Emerald Tablets on and off for years. I've listened to it, and it's quite fascinating. But it's like saying that this alien magical being from Atlantis or whatever he was, he created the pyramids, and he was like a god, and he came upon the cavemen type, probably apes or monkeys or whatever, and barbarians or hairy barbarians.
Neanderthals?
Yeah, he called them hairy barbarians, and but so there's like some theory that they spliced their DNA in with these hairy barbarians, and then we're like a mix of that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's something to that. I don't quite know what the story is. I mean, it sounds true. Now, is that the exact story? Maybe, maybe not. But something did come in and do that, and they can show that in chromosome 7 too, where it was modified that allowed us to interact with our language better and be able to sing. To be able to actually, it changed the way the tongue and the jaw interact together that allow us to be able to actually sing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess chimpanzees and
they can't sing.
They don't sing. Yeah.
No. So it is some form of intelligence did do this.
It's so
at some
wild.
point, right? Which ultimately is us, because we're participating in it all.
Right. And we're trying to figure it out. Like, I know, like, the Bible and religion and God, and we're all, like, all of that is us trying to figure out why we're even here. And we're still on that journey. And we want to reach, like, that Christ consciousness, the full understanding of everything. And I don't know what that would look like, because then what are we doing here? Because like the whole purpose of us here is to grow and learn and make progress or whatever, have fun and stuff. But
yeah, we could have like 4 or 5 of these to talk about all that
I
stuff, because
know.
there's the law of one, talks about that a lot.
Touch on that.
Kind of talking about these cycles that this is the way I perceive it, so I may not be getting it exactly. I may not be repeating it exactly the way that it was presented, but this is how I took it in. That we have these like densities that we go through from 0 to, or from like 1 to 9. And if you look at numerology, the number 1 is a beginning and number 9 is a completion. And so we might start out as a bacteria at 0 and 1, and then as we're evolving upwards, we start to become conscious and human. And now then, maybe in the 7, 8 realm of things, densities, we're learning how to, or I think we're kind of in a 5, 6 density, which is different from dimensions. We're learning how to use the body as the technology. We're learning how to work through the emotions to actually expand our evolution of awareness and consciousness. And then we get to 9 and we might become like just a light body consciousness where we're not actually in human form anymore. We're just existing in a consciousness state.
Yeah.
And then we're like, well, that was really cool. Let's start over and see how far we can go next time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I think the game is. We're just
Right.
constantly looking to experience our individuality and also uniqueness while we expand the whole of everything that's going on.
Yeah. There's something about existing, and because if we could just have everything we wanted and knew everything, there would be no reason to like exist, or no purpose, no direction, because you're already at the pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
So then you just like start over, I guess, and then with limitations, and you only have this short time frame to exist. And then because there's so many philosophers, Alan Watts talks about these types of things, and it's just like if we had everything we wanted, there would be no joy. Like the joy, you would get tired of it, if you just had everything, all the pleasures of it, constantly. It would get old, I guess. So
We're bringing in too much energy here.
yeah, well,
It has been known to like interfere with technology when your energy levels get high.
I think this is a good place to wrap it up. I appreciate you coming on here. I'm so glad you came, because I'm coming tomorrow. I'm going to re-experience the energy enhancement system. Well, real quick, what do you do when you're in there? Like, what's your best method of getting the best experience?
So the best way to utilize that is through what are called on the website sessions. And so to experience a 1 to 4 hour session is ideal. 2 hours is optimal, because it can take people an hour to settle down, and really to get the most out of it, you're looking to get into a deep rest so that your body then can just do what it knows how to do. Overnights are a really great way to do that as well. And I offer, kind of a little bit lower of a rate if people want to come together in groups and do overnights. And then you can also, just like what you guys are doing, coming together as community, because you're also sending the signal out and you're building together. So you're in an environment where that allows you to go a little deeper with those things. And then I do offer spiritual coaching, and I am starting to I'm working on getting a program put together for integrating life that can be applied to like anything that you're experiencing. I think as we navigate through this world of all this information and all these things that are coming up, doing all this stuff, I think, is great. And I think if we're not taking the time to integrate it and embody it and live it, then we're not getting the most out of it. So,
Well, I will see you tomorrow.
yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And so it's just EES Colorado.
So the easiest way to find it, the name of it is actually vibrational resonance,
that, yeah.
but an easy way to, I also was guided to get the website, EE Systems Colorado, or
Yeah.
EE System Colorado.
Yeah.
So you can just access it through there, or you can also, for people that are listening to this that are not in Colorado, you can go to eesystem.com and find locations all over the world.
Yeah, you said there's like 450.
Hmm.
Are they in other countries probably?
They are in other countries. Here in Colorado, I think we're up to about 5 or 6 open centers, and another one's getting ready to open up in Denver. So
Aren't there 3 in Colorado Springs?
there's one in Monument, and then there's one in the northern downtown part of Colorado Springs. There's one in Castle Rock, Broomfield, Boulder, Littleton, Basalt, and there's a lot of private owners.
Yeah.
I have 2 private owners within 10 minutes from me that have them in their homes. I know another person within a half an hour from me that's getting ready to put one in her home. So in like 12 units, 8 units, they're putting them
Yeah.
in their personal homes.
Yeah, I want to get one. That's my only like barriers. It's not convenient
Yeah.
per se.
Yep, to
But
get down there.
but I'll be there tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I always get a charge, I feel, from it. So
Yeah. Good.
I appreciate
Look
you offering that space, and I'll keep you guys posted. I do a weekly live stream on Saturdays, and we do like giveaways and stuff, but I'll have to talk a little bit about this, and I'll mention the experience and how this will be coming out in a week, I would say.
Okay.
It takes a little while to edit it.
All right. Yeah, and I'd be willing to throw in some giveaways for sessions if you want to put that in there. We can talk about that too, or
Yeah.
if not, that's fine too.
And can you send me
The video.
video?
Yeah.
Splice that in.
Yeah, you just kind of want the pictures of it. There's
Yeah.
kind of a quick 1-minute video too that explains it that might be helpful.
Just like on YouTube.
Yeah, well, that I can send to you in
Yeah.
a like actual form. You can use it, and it
Yeah.
is on YouTube too. And then I can also just send you like a 180 view of the room,
Yeah,
just so you can see like what's going on.
please.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you,
Or
Michelle.
360 view, not a 180. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
I love it. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back soon. Have a good week.